give me just a little bit of opinion about the future of post-secondary education.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, people think that I'm in education because I love education. No. I'm in education because I hate it. Like, I think the post-secondary education system in particular charges too much, is incredibly inconvenient, and it does absolutely nothing to try to make it accessible, convenient, or flexible for working professionals. And I think most of the professors that I come across at the university level, unfortunately, have almost zero education in education and have a really hard time putting together a decent lesson plan, much less delivering that lesson plan in a way that would actually affect educational metrics like retention, comprehension, and application. So when I look at the educational system as a whole, the virtual environment that we're creating, and we're not the only ones, we happen to be one of a few in our space, but it's happening across many spaces. You start looking at the fact that I can take the very best educators and the very best content, and I only have to focus on allowing those individuals to create content for every student. I can keep elevating that content indefinitely, where the university system has all sorts of problems, from brick and mortar overhead to having to just man classes. They have to have a warm body in front of the room. They have all sorts of crazy expenses with accreditation. And of course they have, unlike this virtual thing that we're doing, they can't do infinite scale. So, you know, one of the things that we're doing that I think is huge, and maybe one of the best decisions I made, most innovative decisions I made, is I looked at like companies like Netflix and went, if it works for Netflix, it'll work for us, right? So we charge $19.99 a month for access to all of our courses and certifications. It's an interesting model, this membership model, because what it does is it forces you to be product led, because I'm only profitable if I keep my students. Right. So I can't create a shitty product and then use marketing to shove it down everybody's throat. Right. Which is kind of like how most businesses end up, is they look at product creation as an expense. So they try to cut that as much as they can. And then marketing as the fuel, which they overfund. And meanwhile, when you do this membership model, it flips that. So not only are we cheaper because I can, the difference for me in cost of teaching 5,000 students and 10,000 students is minimal. And if I go to 20,000 students, it doesn't really matter much to me from a business perspective, right? I just keep fueling. It just gives me more revenue to put into my product, because the more I put into my product, the more I keep my students, which continues to increase our member value. Like, it's a much more positive thing than what goes on in universities, what goes on in some of these product-led certification companies. Well, they're not product-led. I should say they're more, what's the right word? They're almost like product. They create one product, a packaged product, and then they just kind of ship it out as fast as they can. It's a very different model.